Hola, soy Georgie y soy una profesora de inglés, pero también llevo años aprendiendo español. En este video estaré compartiendo cuáles fueron las cosas más importantes para ayudarme a aprender español. But these are tips for language learning in general, so you can apply them to whichever language you are learning. Experience as a learner of Spanish means that I know what works for me, but as a teacher of English, I also know what works for lots of other people as well. I also have an educational background in this stuff, so I guess that you could say that you can really trust me. Don't forget to check out my socials because I post regular, usually daily content there, and I love to chat and interact with you as well. Okay, so I have 3 core messages that I will go into in detail. The first is to incorporate the language into A, things that you enjoy, and B, things that are related to you and your life specifically. Now, this may seem obvious, but you would be surprised how many people endlessly study grammar and obsess over the structure of the language, forgetting that language is inherently a human and social thing. We use language to make sense of the world, to convey ideas, and to form relationships. Even if you're learning the language for work, it's still connected to your life and it is for a specific purpose. Language is not a mathematical equation that you need to solve. It is connected to life and to relationships. Now, I'm not going to tell you how to do this because everyone enjoys things differently. Everyone has different hobbies and tastes and things that they like to do in their free time, but I will use myself as an example. In my free time, I love to read books and listen to podcasts, so I used them as tools to learn Spanish. The Duolingo ones are really good in my experience, and if you're learning Spanish, I would also highly recommend the Spanish Obsessed podcast because it's just 2 friends. One is English and the other is Colombian, and they are best friends and they just chat and have really interesting conversations about different topics. So love that one. Now, the key here is to choose ones that are 15 to 20 minutes long, or really short ones, 10, 15, 20 minutes, and I will explain why in the 3rd section. My tip for reading would be to read something that you have already read in your native language that you want to read again. That way, you are already familiar with the story, so you aren't having a stressful experience trying to work out what on earth is happening, and instead you will just absorb the language. You already know the story, so you're just absorbing the language. If you're into nice stationery and aesthetics, nice notebooks, then I would also recommend writing in your diary. I used to do that in Spanish every day, just writing about what you did during the day, how you felt, any thoughts that you have. It's a really good way for practicing your writing and also for practicing the past tense in general because you're talking about what has happened already. So these are just the things that I use, but there are also so many other things you can do depending on what you enjoy the most. For example, movies, TV shows, audiobooks, video games, social media. The world is your oyster. Remember, do something that you already enjoy, and this looks different for everyone. So just think, what do I already enjoy doing in my native language? And then start doing that in your language that you're learning. Habits are most easily formed when there is little to no resistance. So doing something that you're already used to doing would be great. This leads me on to tip number 2, which is try to use as many of the skills, the 4 skills you can in each method that you use. Now, I have to credit an amazing YouTuber here because I watched her video probably 2 years ago and it stuck with me all of this time. She's called Anna Lenks and she has a video called The Ultimate Spanish Learning Method, I think. It talks about trying to use all the skills in any one method and I highly recommend it. I loved that video. So for example, take watching a movie. Okay, you're watching it and you're listening to it. So you're practicing your listening, you're practicing your listening. You're also reading the subtitles, so you're practicing your reading. To practice speaking is a bit more difficult, but if you're watching it with a friend, you can talk about the movie during the movie. You can also repeat the subtitles that you read, so just listen and repeat. To practice your writing, you could also write any new interesting vocabulary that you see. You could write your favorite quotes from the movie. So there's lots of different ways you can try this. And that is just with one example with the watching movies. Another example is using music. Whoa! At first I was afraid, I was petrified. So obviously you are practicing your listening when you listen to music. You can also practice your speaking when you sing the music. To sing, you probably need to read the lyrics. And writing, there is an amazing website called Lyrics Training when after you've learned the lyrics a little bit, you can test yourself and you practice your writing on the computer. You are typing the missing words. So I will put that in the description and you can try that out. But that way you can practice your reading, writing, listening, and speaking all in the same method, which is amazing. Now, obviously, this is maybe a little bit more of a time-consuming one, but if you have time to go hard, then it's definitely a good tip. Okay, so tip number 3 is to build sustainable habits. What do I mean by that? It's no use spending 3 hours a day for 1 week working really, really hard in your language and being really, really motivated because this often leads to burnout and you will end up being frustrated, thinking it's too much effort and thinking, what's the point? If this is what it takes to learn a language, I don't want to do it. If you set goals that are too ambitious, this often leads to frustration, self-doubt, and probably giving up on achieving the goals that you so want. You've got to set small, achievable goals that you can maintain over time. I'll use myself as an example again, but again, I want you to focus on what could work for you, the things that you like doing, and the things that you can imagine yourself being able to maintain over time. This is the key. I set a small goal of listening to a 15-minute podcast 3 times a week. Now, this might seem small or it might seem big to you, I'm not sure, but it's better than 0, which is what would happen if you tried to listen to 1 podcast a day, 2 podcasts a day. Maybe that is a small goal for you. So if it is, go for it. But start small. And if you feel like doing more, go for it. But start with a small goal. And then you feel accomplished when you achieve it. And then you might feel more motivated and continue. I also set a small goal of reading something in Spanish 3 times a week. Again, this could mean 1 page as long as you do it. The chances are that if you read 1 page, you will probably read 2 pages and 3 and maybe 4. And if you read more than that, how cool is that? But start small. To help with this, I highly recommend short stories by Ollie Richards. He has written them with language learners in mind. So I read the intermediate Spanish ones, for example, but I think he's written them in lots of different languages as well. I remember seeing other languages and I really enjoyed them because A, the stories were really interesting, and B, the chapters were only about 3 pages each. So I found it a really achievable goal to read 3 times a week. It didn't matter how many pages, just do it. So yeah, that's a really good recommendation, in my opinion, obviously. Now, 3 times a week was achievable for me, but maybe it's not for you. And maybe once a week is achievable for you. Maybe you even want to do something really small every single day. If that works better for you, if that means that you maintain the goal better, then do it. Do what works for you. I've heard that 21 days is the optimum time to build a habit or to solidify a habit. So maybe start with that and then see if you want to keep going. So, to conclude, language learning does not have to be a separate part of your life, restricted to books and exercises and grammar and studying like this. Try to incorporate it into your already existing, rich, full life. We make sense of the world through language, and we make sense of language through the world. Listen to that again, it's important. We make sense of the world through language, and we make sense of language through the world. If you connect the language to your world, to stories, to feelings, you will ultimately learn better. I promise you this. So, make the language part of your daily world, part of things that you already enjoy, build habits, and practice all the skills as much as you can. Thanks so much for watching this. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and please let me know in the comments what you thought about these tips. Do you agree with them? Do you think they are doable? And please share your own tips. I want the comment section to be a resource for other people to get ideas as well. Also, let me know about any requests for videos you would like to see, either TikToks or YouTube. Let me know.